showcasing what we're up to here at Miami World Center. I see a lot of people who've been involved with us for a while, so thank you. And for the new faces, thank you also. We hosted a great event last week at the Lyric Theater. Got a lot of great question support. We're looking forward to another great night. Just for those that didn't sign in, please do so before you leave. Also, we do have some refreshments and food afterwards, as we know we've asked you to come during dinner time. I'd like to start by saying thank you to a few folks that are here. Commissioner Mark Sarnoff, District 2 Commissioner. Thank you for being here. I saw Alice Bravo from the City Manager's Office. Thank you for being here. We have Francisco Garcia and Cesar Garcia Pons from the Planning Department. I think they're also here to help answer any questions afterwards. My name is Nitin Matwani. I'm Managing Principal of Miami World Center. We also have here from our team Ben Feldman from Miami World Center, Mike Cohen and Don Gerard from Elkis Manfredi, our architects and master planners who flew in from Boston to be here in case there's anything they can help articulate better than I, which would be difficult. We have John McWilliams from Kimley Horn, our traffic engineer, and we have Ryan Bayline from Greenberg Troy on land use. So we have a number of folks here as part of our team that will be here during the presentation and afterwards to answer questions that all of you may have. We're going to start this presentation with a video that our retail partner, so we've got a venture with Forbes Company in Thailand to do the retail of Miami World Center. 750,000 square feet of retail anchored by Bloomingdale's and Macy's right here at Miami World Center. They put together a great video that we're going to show. I want to apologize in advance. It's a little dated and has a reference to a certain soccer stadium that we all know isn't coming. So don't want to spook anyone or scare anyone. But otherwise, please enjoy the video.
Miami, a city of international culture and mystique that draws people with its promise of energy and excitement. A city that is always awake, always alive, always ready for the next big thing. From the people who brought you unsurpassed success with the Mall at Millennia, the Mall at Short Hills, Beverly Center, and Somerset Collection, Miami will soon welcome 765,000 square feet of shopping and dining. Two of the most dynamic retail developers in the world, the Forbes Company and Taubman, bring you the Mall at Miami World Center. A state that will soon surpass New York in population. Miami, a city of 2.6 million residents and host to nearly 14 million visitors. With more than 12.5 million hotel rooms booked each year, Miami's hotel industry ranks among the best in the world. Headquarters to more multinational corporate offices and the largest concentration of domestic and international banks south of New York City, including financial institutions, foreign consulates and foreign trade offices, Miami is a center of worldwide business. Miami World Center, a cosmopolitan development containing more than 28 incredible acres of residences, hotels, offices, and at the heart of it all, the Mall at Miami World Center. The Mall at Miami World Center is the most accessible location on the most traveled roadways in the most desirable destination in Miami. The Mall at Miami World Center has direct access to I-95 at 8th Street and I-395 at 2nd Avenue, making it the most accessible site in the region. In 2016, All Aboard Florida, a state-of-the-art passenger train, will link two of Florida's major urban cities with stops in Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach. At cruise terminal in the world, welcoming nearly 5 million passengers annually. The port will become even more successful with the expansion of the Panama Canal and will soon house David Beckham's new Major League Soccer arena. Miami International Airport, less than 5 miles from the mall at Miami World Center, serves more than 39.5 million passengers each year and is the second leading international gateway to the United States, following New York City's JFK Airport. With more than $5 billion in recent, current and planned development immediately surrounding Miami World Center, the area will become the most vibrant cultural and entertainment destination in the market. The Adrian Arch Performing Arts Center, designed by Cesar Pelli, lies directly north of Miami World Center and attracts more than 500,000 visitors annually. With enhancements underway, the 29-acre museum park is poised to become Miami's signature urban escape. The newly opened $220 million Jorge Perez Art Museum welcomed 150,000 attendees in its first 4 months. The $275 million Patricia and Frost Museum of Science will amaze and inspire an anticipated 250,000 visitors per year. The American Airlines Arena, home of the Miami Heat, hosts hundreds of events and attracts more than 3 million guests each year. Just minutes from the site and managed by Live Nation lies the Bayfront Park and Amphitheater, hosting large events, festivals and live concerts. Immediately south of Miami World Center, we find more than 30,000 students from across the country attending the Miami-Dade College. And introducing 1000 Museum, a 700-foot residential tower designed by famed international architect Zaha Hadid, will feature residential units ranging from $4 million to $35 million penthouses. The Marriott Hotel and Convention Center will include 600,000 square feet of convention space and 2,000 luxury hotel rooms, all in the skyline of the mall at Miami World Center. And linking the hotel and convention center to the mall lies the 7th Street Promenade, an energetic corridor of restaurants, shops, entertainment and residential towers, providing an authentic Miami scene where every night is different. Multiple towers, one-of-a-kind residential units and a boutique hotel will create a vibrant urban community in the heart of the new center of Miami. Miami World Center, the new center of Miami. 28 incredible acres of retail, office, residences, luxury hotels and amenities, unsurpassed anywhere in Miami. And at the heart of it all, the new Miami World Center. The new center of Miami.
Thank you very much. So, that's Miami World Center. That was done again by our retail folks. So the focus there was on the retail component. The other component to Miami World Center is MDM and Marriott. MDM being the group that developed the JW Marriott on Brickell and the JW Marriott Marquis in downtown and the Whole Foods that's under construction. They formed a partnership to develop the Marriott Marquis at Miami World Center, which will be an 1,800 room conference center hotel with 600,000 square feet of meeting space. And adjacent to us, of course, is All Aboard Florida, who have announced they'll be breaking ground later this year. So we often say that the only thing more exciting about planting 28 acres in downtown Miami is planting 38 acres, because in partnership with All Aboard Florida, that's what we're doing. So we have moved forward and submitted to staff at the city our plans for Phase 1A, which is really which is this major block here. What that will encompass: 3 levels of retail, 765,000 square feet, anchored by Bloomingdale's and Macy's. Macy's had announced they were leaving downtown, and fortunately, we were able to capture them at Miami World Center to keep them here and continue the job growth. In addition, there will be parking spaces that will be available to the public. There will be private parking spaces that will cater to the condominiums. And for our neighbors to the east, you'll be happy to know that instead of looking down at a 6.5 acre parking garage, you'll be looking at a beautiful landscape design 7 acre park, 129 feet in the sky. So it's something we're also very excited about as far as views go. One of the other interesting things in designing the project is the distance we put between the towers. There's a lot more density that we could build at Miami World Center, but we chose to go with a different approach, which is to create something that we felt which was to a great scale. So the FAR and number of units that we're building will be less than what we could build. What we also did was left about 250 to 300 feet between these buildings. So if you're looking out, you're not looking just at a building. You've got a football field between the buildings to give you that visibility and that light and views that we all love and have grown to enjoy in downtown. Miami World Center is really focused on 4 key principles. The reason we have these renderings here is because this is what we're all about: revitalization. We sit in an area that since 1982, when the CRA was formed, the Park West Overtown CRA, has been waiting for transformation. The old arena came and went. The Nat Center's been a very important asset for the area, and great things are happening in Overtown. And now we feel that it's a unique opportunity to tie all of that, what's happened in the greater downtown area, Brickell, downtown, to the east of us with the AAA, the arts, the culture, the museum, the Performing Arts Center, and then the great new neighborhoods to the north, Edgewater, Midtown, Wynwood, Design District. And we look at ourselves as the glue, the hole in the donut, if you will, what ties this all together. So we benefit from the Metro movement, we benefit from the Metro Rail. We will be the stop for All Aboard Florida and downtown. There's conversations about a streetcar, about Bailey. So when you fast forward and think about, we could be in a position where in the near future, you could actually not have a car in Miami and use public transportation to get virtually anywhere. Or with things like UberX or Lyft, have the ability to use program or Car2Go or Zipcar, things that have taken off in a very fast way in Miami as we grow and mature. So we feel that Miami has certainly matured. We feel that we're fortunate to be in a position that we are, but we feel that Miami's about to go to that next level, and we think Miami World Center will be one of those crucial projects that can help take us there. And aside from the revitalization, we want to make sure that we're focused on open space, pedestrian-friendly areas. So what you'll see as I go through these slides are our sidewalks will not be 4 to 6 feet. They will be 18 to 25 feet. We will have multiple public spaces, 2 dedicated parks, one which will be 20,000 square feet, one will be 14,000 square feet. But when you couple up all that could be closed, for example, the way Miami-Dade College closes First Avenue for the book fair, you could have up to 4.5 acres for a special event, a book fair, a farmer's market, a New Year's Eve event. We're also looking at connectivity. We have long worked with our neighbors to the west in Overtown, our neighbors to the east at Museum Park and the AAA, our friends to the north and our neighbors to the south. And what we feel, and what we'll show in the presentation, is how Miami World Center is very fluid. You can get north, south, east, west. We're not modifying the grid in a bad way. We're doing it in a way that will improve connectivity both north, south, east, west, but will also cater to pedestrians. Whether it's somebody on a bike or somebody pushing a stroller, they'll feel comfortable that they can walk around in downtown in a comfortable way. And the last is job creation. Miami has done a lot of things really well, and one of the areas that we can continue to improve on is job creation. Miami World Center will create, according to Fishkine's projections in Phase 1 alone, 20,000 jobs during construction, 10,000 direct, 10,000 indirect, and 14,000 permanent jobs. That's permanent jobs, 8,000 of which will be direct and located here at Miami World Center. Something we're very excited about as we invest $2 billion into this community in our first phase. We all know the wonderful location we're in. Many of you are residents of all the neighboring buildings. But when you take a look at this slide, it really puts into perspective how fortunate we are and how we really are the hole in the donut that ties all of this great stuff to the north, south, of course to our east and our west. These are all the great amenities that I mentioned earlier. And one of the things we've done is we've owned the property. You're sitting in a building called Venture High. We leased this property for $0 to a woman named Susan Ahmad who runs a group called Venture High, where they brought entrepreneurs, some of which are here in the audience tonight, to downtown Miami. There's over 100 entrepreneurs from 35 companies from 23 countries that work out of this space. And this is the first Microsoft Innovation Center in the country, here in this building in downtown Miami. That says a lot about what's happening in downtown. We felt it was important to give back as we went through the process of getting this project off the ground, and we're really excited about being a part of what's happening in the tech world in downtown specifically. In addition, we've got nightclubs that have existed. We have we have artists. We have 16 artists and galleries that exist at Miami World Center within the confines of our property. Spaces we gave up significant revenue to give to these folks because we thought it would be important. So some of it you'll see in murals that have been painted. You'll see it in some of the different things that exist on the buildings. But a couple of these folks are in the Perez Art Museum. A couple of these folks will participate in our Basel. These are great artists that are from Miami, and we're happy to have them as part of this part of Miami World Center, and are working with them on finding ways for them to continue to be involved as we evolve. This is the site plan. I went through it briefly, but let me just do it again. This is 7th Street. Conference Hotel, pedestrian-only street. The retail is anchored by Bloomingdale's to the south, Macy's to the north. These are some of the renderings and views so you get a sense of what we're trying to do. We understand that the Miami World Center was approved under the old zoning code. Since then, Miami 21 has happened. Miami 21 will not allow for the types of garages you'll currently see as you drive on 2nd Avenue. It will force us, and we've actually agreed up front before we were even in Miami 21, to do these types of garages. Not this specifically, but to line them, to create interesting uses so that we as pedestrians, we as residents, and our tourists that come and visit can all enjoy what an incredible city that we have, and not just look at open garages. This is a great 25,000 square foot plaza located 7th Street and Northeast 2nd Avenue. Will be the drop-off for the retail and eventually a building here. This is that 7th Street promenade that is pedestrian only. Again, we're trying to make sure we are convenient and accommodate the vehicles, which will inevitably be a big part of our future, but also allow pedestrians to feel safe and comfortable in downtown. This is a rendering of the Conference Center Hotel, the Marriott Marquis. One of the things we also did is we took a look at the design of this project from a macro level. So one of the unique things we could do versus, say, downtown or Brickell, by owning this land, we could create a master plan. So we could create 18 to 25 foot sidewalks because we can encroach on our property to do that. What we also did is we created the parking in a way that will get cars off of the street rather than circling around, worried about figuring out where to park and not paying attention to pedestrians. So as you get off of 395 and 2nd Avenue, you'll immediately go into the garage. This garage will have 3 ways out and 2 ways in. So for special events and other things like that, not all traffic will be directed to 2nd Avenue. So you'll come in here, you can come out here, you can also come in right here and exit here, and there will be what we call the escape valve for special events that will get you on 10th Street. 10th Street, we are working to 2-way with the city and county. We are expanding 10th Street by 20% as a street and 35% with sidewalks. I'll get into that rendering later. So in 8th Street, we're also adding an additional lane for traffic. So we are not trying to make this where cars cannot get through or access. Quite the contrary. We're simply trying to organize the vehicles and the pedestrians so that both can feel comfortable in our project. We're also incorporating the Metro Mover stations into the design of Miami World Center. We have the Metro Rail stop to the north, so we can get directly from the airport to Miami World, which will go right into all aboard Florida's Grand Central Station, as well as into the Conference Center Hotel. One of the things people often forget too with Miami World Center, with our neighborhood in general, aside from 395, we do have direct access off of I-95. And we've been speaking to some of the property owners, some of which are here in this room, about what we can do with 8th Street West. So as we're spending time and energy thinking about 8th Street to the east, how can we incorporate it to the west so that experience coming in and out of 95 is an appealing one aesthetically. This is the connectivity that I alluded to earlier in this slide. The key things that we wanted to focus on here, as you'll see, 11th Street does not change, 6th Street does not change. What changes is 10th Street. 10th Street is widened for vehicles as well as pedestrians. 9th Street, as we know, dead ends into the FEC tracks. So 9th Street we're turning into a pedestrian-only paseo that will go through the mall. 7th Street will be a pedestrian-only street that will be wide open, open-air, and accessible 24/7. And 8th Street will be both a vehicular and pedestrian street. Let me say that again because I know there was a lot of concern by some of our friends in the condos. 8th Street will be open to both vehicles and pedestrians. So I'll go through a few of these just so you can see, and I'm sorry it's hard to read. Actually, I can't read it, so let me go to the screen. The street as it exists today, Miami Avenue, is 47 feet. It will be 51 feet wide when we're done with it, but the sidewalk to the east will go from 9 feet to 24.5 feet. So we're encroaching on our property to create that more pedestrian-friendly experience on North Miami Avenue. First Avenue will go from 47 feet as a street also to 51 feet, but the sidewalks, as you can see, go from 10 feet to 34 feet. We're talking about very wide pedestrian-friendly streets. 10th Street, a very sensitive one, 43 feet to 51 feet. And again, we're working to two-way that street and going from 15-foot sidewalks to 14 on one side, 25 on the other. And then 8th Street, the same thing. The street will get slightly bigger, but we are adding a lane of traffic, and we'll go from 12-foot sidewalk to roughly 15. And this is an idea of what 8th Street could look like. As you can see, vehicles, pedestrians, people. All about connecting east and west. I wanted to give the folks in the condos adjacent to us comfort that while this is a rendering, we are not going to leave the roof of this parking garage vacant. As I mentioned earlier, you will be looking at a 7-acre park that will service these condos. And that will create something of a view for you because it's not fair to come and suddenly put a 7-acre garage. And from our own standpoint, we don't want to be selling condos that are looking down at a 7-acre garage. So we're aligned in our desire to design something better here. And I think you'll all be very happy with what we come up with. The city has been very adamant about creating parks, and we're in agreement. While we're fortunate to have Museum Park and Bayfront Park just across the street, we want parks within the area so that people who may work, live, or play in the area have dedicated parks. Spoken to some of the condo associations and residents about this. It's as simple as wanting to take your dog for a walk or take your child out for fresh air. This is the kind of stuff that we want to do. And because of where the Nat Center exists, this is located at 7th Street and 1st Avenue. We put another one at 10th Street, between 9th and 10th Street and 1st Avenue, because we wanted to create some air because of the Nat Center, because it encroaches so far east. We wanted to feel pedestrian friendly, not just on the east side of 1st Avenue, but also on the west. Here's what that park would look like at the ground level. And again, we're working through what this looks like in the program. We're talking about certain ways we could incorporate art, local artists. So there's a lot of ideas that we're going through right now and working with the city. But these are some ideas of what the minimums would look like. This is that park to the north. So as you see, this is the Nat Center. And so what we did is created another 14,000 square foot park there, again, to give some air to 1st Avenue. So as you're walking by the Nat Center, which is an incredibly important asset for this community that can't be moved, we have to try to figure out how to make 1st Avenue feel pedestrian friendly. So that is the overview and the vision for Miami World Center. And with that, happy to answer any questions.
trucks be loading and, unloading?
Great question. Thank you. So we also organize that. The whole point that we're trying to prevent here is a situation that occurs in certain other parts of Miami where every street is a service street. So everywhere you turn, you're pulling into an 18-wheeler or something like that. So what we've done is you will pull in for loading along 2nd Avenue. Again, you get off the highway, you enter the buildings. These docks, these loading docks are being designed for circulation internally, so that these will not be situations like we experience in other parts of downtown where trucks are backing in, blocking traffic. They're going to pull in, you'll have the ability to circulate inside of the building and service both the condos and the retail. Yes?
When is it going to be completed?
We are pushing to break ground at the early part of next year. Forbes and Taubman and MDM have both announced pushing aggressively for late this year, early next year. Depending on which component of the project you're talking about, it's a 2 to 3 year build.
Okay, and so which is going to be developed first?
What you've seen here will all be developed simultaneously. So the retail will take 2 years to deliver, but some of the condos and the conference hotel will take up to 3 years. So those may continue being built out internally, but the retail would open in 2. Yes?
With the closing of 2 of the streets going through that property, and then the widening 10th Street to 2-way, I live over here on 900. This game seems to me like we're going to have a lot more traffic to deal with in the ingress and egress from our building. Is that the case?
Well, Kimley Horn can speak further if you have specifics either or now or after. The inevitable part of being in downtown and turning these properties from parking lots into 1 million square feet of retail and condos and public spaces, there will be more people. We think that we've designed a building, and our reports show, our studies show, and our architects, etc., have all been involved in this process to minimize that impact to you. But we all live in downtown and will experience increased people and traffic in what we hope will be a positive way. By widening 10th Street, specifically to 900, gives you that ability to exit and get over to 1st Avenue without having to come south and dealing with some of that. So that's the kind of the thought process that we've had with regards to the widening and to end of 10.
Commercial traffic. I know where trucks are coming in. Where are they going out?
Sure. So they would be coming in here, circulating internally, and then coming out here. They would be either heading west on 8 or west on 6, or trying to turn here. We don't know that they'd have that radius, so most likely they'd be exiting and getting back on the highway, on 95, either north or south. Yes?
I'm glad that you mentioned all the transit options and the fact that there's a lot of car share, ride share options, but I still can't wrap my head around 3,000 parking spaces in a downtown of a world-class city, and so I just would like to better understand the rationale behind providing that much parking when there's so many transit options and the ability to walk.
So that's a great question. So 3,000 is the public component. There's a private component as well. I think if you ask the people in this room, everyone probably have a different opinion. Some feel that there's a lot more parking needed, and some would feel that there's a lot less parking needed. What we try to do is to take into account a combination. So for our residents, we are doing parking that is required by market. So we're doing the parking that we think we need to sell those units without overdoing it. We're also sensitive to the fact that right now on our property, a number of the condos adjacent to us use this land for overflow parking. The American Airlines Arena relies on this. The museums, Museum Park, the Performing Arts Center. Performing Arts Center has had and has been public about their need for additional parking for events there. What we're trying to do is kind of get ahead of that challenge, because once we build, the opportunity will have been lost to do anything else. So we're not trying to, by no means, overbuild parking here. I mean, we're very cognizant parking is expensive in downtown. But at the same time, we want to be good neighbors, and our success is tied to all of our neighbors' success, because this is one of those projects we feel rising tide raises all ships. So, but to that point, whether it's Cars to Go, Zipcar, Lyft, UberX, we're in constant conversations with folks about Baylink, streetcar. We're working with all aboard and connecting there. We're talking to MTA about the Metro Mover stops and how to improve that experience. So we want to completely support the public transportation options and the sharing options, but be realistic about the number of people that we'll be bringing as part of one.
obviously a major visitor tourism area for culture tourism. I have two questions. What provisions are you going to make sure that this center doesn't look like a cookie cutter stamp all the other centers you see throughout the nation and the world, to make this really a unique location where art in public places can live simultaneously with a segment of the 21st century? The other question is, what provisions will be made to allow for affordable retail space for galleries and artists to be exhibited and coexist with their national trends?
So the first question with regards to the public spaces, the architecture, and incorporating art, I think we've done that now with the 16 artists that we're doing. We believe in it, we've supported it, and we'll continue to support it. We are working with the Perez Art Museum. We'll continue to do. There's certain things that we are working on that are not yet public that we're hoping to announce soon that will probably put a smile to your face for the way direction we're thinking. So we're exploring a number of options. Those types of things come closer to opening because it's hard to think this far in advance about programming spaces that aren't even under construction yet. When we go meet with the museum or go meet with someone who has an art collection, they say, great, sounds like a great idea. Talk to us when you're opening. They're planning the next 3 to 6
I'm
years.
talking about commissioning major pieces of public art, like modern art, in New York, as we know, in great cities, Barcelona, these are an integral part of architecture of the city.
Sure. So I lived in Madrid, loved it. It's one of my favorite cities. My wife lived in Chicago, so it's another favorite. And I spent a lot of time in Millennium Park, which, as you know, is a public park, as we have Museum Park across the street. So I think those types of references are probably more akin to Museum Park or Bayfront Park, where the community is coming together, both public and private, as a partnership, and creating a space catered to that type of stuff. We are doing our part because we want to, not because we're obligated to, because we think it's important. We think it creates value, not just for the people we're doing business with, but for ourselves. I mean, we have been, the easiest thing for us to do in this kind of a market in Miami is to turn around and say, we have great density, we have great zoning, a great location. Here's 15 condos instead of what you just saw. So our feeling is actions speak louder than words. Right now we're focused on getting this project developed and built, keeping in mind that we're creating spaces that can be used for those types of things. And as we evolve and as we know who our partners are, sharing in those decisions. We can't make those in a vacuum when we have a retail partner or a hotel partner, as an example. With regards to the second question,
Affordable space for ongoing retail spaces devoted for the exhibition and sale of art.
sure.
Because
So,
as we see, all of these, even in the boutiques are coming in, the clubs are coming in, and the galleries are coming in. So what made the connectivity of the community now becomes the best galleries now are all having to be. What is going to be an ongoing? We see how vitally important this element is to our community and to visitors who come here. They come here seeking not just art philosophy, but they want to see the arts and what makes the city such a great international world.
sure. So we couldn't agree more. We're fortunate to have Downtown Art House, which houses a number of great artists. Primary, Steve Gamson, Primary Flight's others that hopefully you've been to some of their galleries and are incredible spaces. This is a project that is, well, let me say it this way, it's kind of like the parking conversation. I was on a panel with Dennis Scholl from the Knight Foundation, who is one of the most incredible supporters of art, and we're fortunate to have him in this community. And the debate was just that. Is it the fact that these artists are transient that makes them interesting and continues to have them evolve? Or do they want a permanent space? And we've talked to the artists that are at Miami World Center. Over half of them would say, listen, we don't want that. We want to keep moving. That's part of who we are. That's part of our culture. That's what keeps us exciting and forward thinking, is moving into new places and being different every
I have a world-class galleries.
Well, I think if you're talking world-class galleries, a lot of those folks are paying rent or finding spaces. We are working to create some of that. Our project, our retail, it's sold to Forbes and Taubman, who will be developing it. As you can see, the architecture is,
It will not be growing.
I'm sorry,
It will not be growing.
it will be marketed. And they're developing a private sector, for-profit center. Yes.
I love the slideshow. I'm very, very excited about what the mall looks like. As the first time I got a chance to actually see what the mall is really going to look like, that was absolutely beautiful. I just had a question. I was riding through the tunnel the other night, and I was thinking about the fact that here in Miami, since Hurricane Andrew, we've had a beautiful time here, and I was wondering if we got a very powerful system, what would happen to that tunnel that goes to the, so in this situation, was there any type of extra thought? Because I was an intern in the ER at Cedars Hospital when Hurricane Andrew hit, and we were the only hospital open for a couple of days. And so I just wanted to know, was there any unique aspects that you had to take into consideration with our hurricane season here?
Absolutely. You'd be surprised, or you wouldn't be, but a lot of people are surprised with some of the restrictions that the weather, specifically the hurricanes, the wind, the rain, put on what you can do as far as landscaping, structure, water features, a lot of that stuff. We have an entire wind tunnel study that we have focused on that focuses exactly on that. What's it like if it hits 180 miles an hour? So we are spending a tremendous amount of time on that right now because it's important, and you're absolutely right. We all experienced, unfortunately, since Andrew, even a couple other scares. But we're giving a lot of thought to that. One of the things I didn't mention is this will be neighborhood LEED certified. So going to the other extreme, we're not only trying to prevent from catastrophe, we're also trying to be a part of making sure this is at minimum LEED certified, most likely so. Yes, Bill.
Yeah. Obviously, then a lot of the event parking is going to be absorbed by this development. Was there any particular thought given to, I know you're going to have, I think you mentioned about 3,000 parking spaces or something like that. Any thought given to the design in terms of, how people get in and out when, when we have major events, particularly heat games, that kind of thing?
I could tell you a lot of funny stories about that process. We've learned more about parking garages than I ever cared to, or I will ever use. So every condo, every office building we all experience, pretty simple, one way in, one way out. Gets frustrating at rush hour, of course, etc. This garage, for that reason, has 2 ways in and 3 ways out. Because if there's a Heat game, as an example, and we've been dealing with the museums, we've been dealing with the Miami Heat, so we're not doing this in a vacuum. And obviously, Kimley Horn's been involved, Walker Parking out of New York City's been involved, so we spent a lot of time thinking about this. And I joke and call it the Taj Mahal of garages because of that. When you start thinking about multiple ramping systems, multiple ways in, multiple ways out, wayfinding for spots so when people are rushing to get to a game, they can see quickly where they are. So yes, we're spending a lot of time thinking through that. And that's why we have 3 ways out of this thing. When I reference the escape valve that'll take place on 10th Street, this right here, this little helix, that's only a way out. And that's meant, as the Heat told us, people come at different times to get to a game, but everybody leaves at the same time. We're hoping that given the amenities that we'll provide as far as restaurants and bars and entertainment, some of those people may decide to stay for a little while and not rush out. But for those that do, they're going to have 3 ways out. And one will be they can get off at 2nd Avenue, get on 8th and go west. They can get off on 1st Avenue and get north on 395, I'm sorry, 395 to east or west. Or they can get out on 10th, head west, down and west, or just straight south on Miami Avenue. So we spent a lot of time thinking through that, both from a parking and traffic standpoint. Yes?
Have there been any discussions to turn northeast 2nd Avenue into a 2-way? I know it's a 2-way north of 11, but 1 way south of that.
My architect's smiling because 6 years ago, we fought the 2-way, 2nd Avenue, 1st Avenue. We think we like that idea. Unfortunately, We don't control it, so we can't decide that. The challenge with 2nd Avenue is you have the Metro mover on one side, and then you have these garages on the other. So it's very difficult. There's not a lot of space to switch. And then you also have that as the only exit off of 395 right now. Obviously, that'll change when they redo the bridge. But we liked the idea of two-way, 2nd and 1st, and Miami actually, early on. But it was an uphill battle. Now we're focused on 10th Street because we'll take what we can get. Yes?
You mentioned that the loading area and kind of the bulk of the traffic coming off the highways on 2nd Avenue. What's the plan for when FDOT makes North Miami Avenue the one that has the ramp?
Well, that we're following that process closely and how that will function and work. Right now, they're talking about potentially having a service road, or not a service road, but a side road that would basically give you access to Miami 1st and 2nd. So there's a lot of fluidity to the FDOT. I know that the residents, I know that the AAA, I know the museums, the PAC, everybody is providing input. So I don't think any of us know for certain what that design will end up being. But we're watching it closely, whether it goes to Miami or 2nd Avenue or 1st Avenue for that matter. It's part of the reason that we started kind of one block south to give ourselves some flexibility to get those people east and west. Yes?
Regarding the condominium component, when will be released to the public? Do you have any information of how many units are going to be there?
There'll be over 1,000 units. We're finalizing floor plans and unit counts and amenities, all that fun stuff that goes into the sales of condos. We're not in a position to announce when those will launch sales and all of that just yet, but as soon as we are, we'll make it public. Or they'll make it very public. Yes.
Any traction from other tenants besides Bloomingdale, or it's too early?
A lot of very good conversations. Fortunately, Forbes and Taubman are top-notch. We all read the stories that were public. You know, Bloomingdale's, Macy's announced they were leaving. Bloomingdale's announced they were interested in downtown. There were a number of other projects that were courting Bloomingdale's. We're very fortunate in downtown Miami. It's the only place where 3 world-class retail projects are all being built at the same time. But fortunately, we got Bloomingdale's. We were able to get Macy's to stay in downtown and expand, which is exciting. And the retailers have been incredibly supportive of what's going on, not just in Miami, but in this location, because they see what a lot of the rest of us see, especially the residents, that this is the future of downtown. This is the hole in the donut that ties it all together. So there's incredible reactions from the retailers, incredible traction. We'll have some good stuff to announce very soon. Liz.
When you do your wind tunnel study, recommend that they do it with the condos that are in place, because depending on how the wind is blowing, it can be incredibly windy down those streets.
I've spent a lot of time on your amenity deck and very familiar with both 10, 9, Biscayne, and that deck.
You get 100-mile-an-hour wind, you're going to have 500-600-mile-an-hour winds on the other side.
We are looking at that. We're also incorporating some of these to-be-built projects that there's a need that has been announced, etc. So I appreciate that, and we certainly are. All right, so 2 housekeeping items. Number 1, please help yourself to dinner. We got a lot of food, and hopefully you will enjoy it. And number 2, if you like what you heard tonight, please, there are letters of support that are at the front desk if you don't already have them. If you provide us with your email address, we'll keep you posted on what's going on with the project as we have further updates. You can always visit MiamiWorldCenter.com, which will continue to have updates as to what's going on. Next steps for us are we are going to Planning and Zoning Board September 3rd, followed by the City Commission, and I believe it's September 11th. And so we have our architects, our land use attorney, our traffic engineer, we're all here